recently I've heard from a lot of you, like, how do I know if I'm being too picky in the kind of guy I'm looking for or in the kind of guy that I'll date? And so I want to share 2 things that could be signs that you might be being a little too picky. Hey friends, my name is Tiffany Dawn, and if you're new here, this channel is all about helping you build healthy relationships so you can feel secure. So you can hit that subscribe button below to come join us every Tuesday. So how do you know if you're being too picky? Because it is important to have some certain things that you're looking for that are non-negotiables. But how do you know if they're the important things to look for or if they're just being a little too picky? Here are 2 signs. Sign number 1 that you might be crossing that line into the land of too picky, sign number 1, is that you're looking for qualities that are really specific instead of general. Here's what I mean by that. When I was single, I wanted someone I was attracted to. And I think that's a great general characteristic to look for in somebody you want to date. But I made it too specific. I said, I don't just want someone I'm attracted to. I'm attracted to somebody who's 6'3" tall, has dark hair, Italian heritage, and dark eyes. And then if anybody didn't meet that, I would just kind of walk right past them. Great guys who I actually could have been attracted to, but I just walked right past because they didn't meet my very specific guideline. And I'm so thankful that I realized that that was way too picky because my husband James is not 6'3" tall. He's like 5'9", so I totally would have walked right past him too. Here's another example. I wanted someone who shared my faith and faith was really important to him. That's a great general quality to look for, but I made it too specific once again. I was like, I don't just want someone who shares my faith. I want the worship leader who plays guitar. So if a guy did not play guitar, or if he was not like in the limelight in a church setting, I wasn't interested. I didn't even notice he existed. I was being too picky. And the second sign is judging someone from afar. Here's an example of that. I was asking my friend about this guy who seemed really interested in her, and he seemed like a great guy. And I was like, are you guys gonna go out? And she's like, no, I don't wanna go out with him. And I said, why? And she said, he has pets. And I remember thinking like, are you kidding me? That is not reason to not go on a date with a guy. Like, I'm sorry, that's judging someone from afar. You don't know the story behind those pets. You don't know if he's tied to having pets for the rest of his life. Like, you don't know that. You're judging from afar, and that's a sign of being too picky. And so if you're judging from afar, assuming you know more about a person than you do, or assuming just from a brief outside glance that you know what their life is like, that I think is when you're being too picky. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some things that you can see and say, wow, that guy is not a good guy. And in that case, you can absolutely say, I'm not gonna go on a date with them. But if you're just saying like, I don't think he really loves Jesus because we went to coffee once and he didn't tell me what he'd been reading in the Bible lately. Like, that's being a little picky. That's kind of judging from afar. So another question a lot of you girls have had is physical attraction important? Sometimes we think that as a Christian that shouldn't be important, but I think it actually is important. However, there's a bit more nuance than just saying, yes, he should be super hot. Like, that's not what I'm saying, nuance. So let's talk about that in this next video. Love you girls, and I'll see you there.